Wait. I actually have to try now because there's a bet. What? Hold up. Will Roll Shot get an SS rank next game? 250 slips, by the way. Oof. And we got it. SS rank.
Speaking of epicness, we're here at the Immutable Fortress, the Emerald City, where the law of the land is code and the grass is always greener. We've got Kyle and Husian today from Slips. Guys, welcome.
Hi there. Hi. Good to be here.
Oh, I love the energy. So, Slips guys, tell us, what's it like? What's it about? What's the product?
Well, Kyle, do you want to go ahead?
Well, Slips is a platform for gamers and streamers to make challenges and bets on live streams like on Twitch and Mixer. And it's pretty fun.
Yeah, I know. I've been playing around with it, and when I first joined ETC Labs, reading about your product, which was, I thought it was like a mix of like FanDuel, fantasy sports, and like Twitch, kind of pairing those two worlds together. I was very enthusiastic. So, talk to us about what benefits like a streamer gets from using your platform.
Okay, so we did a soft launch 2 weeks ago, and we've actually been putting this now into the hands of streamers. And the reactions so we had an idea, this is what we're going to build for streamers, and this is what they're going to get out of it. And all of a sudden now they've got it in their hands and they're reacting to it. So I think it's validating some of the things. So I did a presentation yesterday, and I was talking about all of the things that Slips does for streamers. So for example, if you're a streamer and you're not as big as Dr. Disrespect or Ninja or someone like that, then you don't really have these big sponsorships, but you're trying to turn what is a hobby, something that you really enjoy, you're trying to turn that into a real career. So obviously money is a big thing. You want to be earning money. You've got loads of other streamers. Everyone's got this crazy personality. Everyone's trying to make it big. So you've got to try and distinguish yourself away from those people as well. And the hardest thing is, if you are relying, like most streamers, for them, they rely on tips and donations. So if you're relying on tips and donations, then you need to kind of engage your audience. Your audience needs to be having fun. And sometimes, just like the start of this video, you're just feeling a little bit down. So, it's hard to keep users always engaged. So going back to what does Slips do? So, like you're playing any game, virtually any game possible. So whether you're interested in a retro game or you're interested in these, battle royale type games, whatever you're doing, whatever stream that you're using, whether it's Twitch, Mixer, you can just plug it into Slips. And then your users can make challenges to each other. We had a clip yesterday. The challenges are not just, will he win, will he lose, but they're just literally whatever you can think of. And that really, because you've got that spontaneity, it creates real, immersive content. So, your users are starting to get engaged, they're making bets, little stories crop up. So we found that Slips, even without all the betting, just the fact that you're making challenges is quite fun. And yeah, it helps users make money and all of that as well.
So, the value prop from a streamer's perspective is they now have a way to monetize their stream, but then separately, it's that they're going to get more people to watch, to pay attention, be more engaged.
Yeah, definitely. So if you don't have a Slips stream right now, so you're not broadcasting on Slips, you've got to do something to keep these people engaged. So most of the people, they just scream a lot. That seems to be something like, go and do a rage quit or something, and people talk about it. With Slips, it's a little bit different. You can. So it's not just users making challenges. So it's not like I'm watching your stream and thinking, oh, he's going to get 10 kills. And then when you got a little bit of money riding on something, it's always a little bit more exciting. But the streamer can, you can turn it around completely, and the streamer can make a challenge to his chat. So if he's confident about his skills, if he's really good at a game, he can go, well, maybe I'm going to finish this level in 5 minutes, and people will be like, nah, there's no way that's going to happen. You can start making bets on that. So there's a lot of different ways to use Slips to spice up your stream.
Do you see that as like a comparable also to Augur, maybe, like that you can create these bets?
Yeah. In terms of you mean in terms of the prediction market, right? There is sort of similarities there, and a lot of people, when we tell them about Slips, they say, "Oh, have you heard of Augur?" One of the things that we've always focused on, I think this is one thing that we really do well at Slips, is that Kyle can tell you a little story maybe later on about how he got into Twitch and everything. But we understand how streamers work. What's their mindsets? We're gamers ourselves, so we understand. We built this, so there's times when we're sitting at home and we're absolutely knackered after a really long day, and you turn on Slips, and it's a product that we'd enjoy ourselves. We know that it's kind of fun. So we've, the entire user experience itself is geared for streamers as well.
Okay, and Kyle, how did you get into Twitch?
So I don't know if you guys remember, but Pokemon Go, like 2 years ago, it was a huge phenomenon. Everyone was walking down the streets, had their phones out, trying to collect Pokemon and stuff, but I didn't want to download it. So I was like, okay, how do I figure out like what this game's about? So
you didn't want to be left behind, so I was like, I need to figure what this is out, but I don't want to download it.
So I went to Twitch. I knew that Twitch streamed video games, but I never really watched it before. So I went to Twitch, checked out Pokemon Go, and there was a streamer called EXBC. They would do challenges in real life. So they'd walk around and they'd do a 24-hour homeless challenge. For 24 hours, they'd be outside, living off the streets, trying to get food, and that would be their whole stream. And the chat would engage with that. They tried to make predictions of what's going to happen. And it was just amazing seeing that fourth wall being broke in entertainment. It was just like, wow, having chat who's watching the stream influencing the content they're watching. I thought that was just amazing. And then maybe a year or so later, the ICOs were ramping up, blockchain was getting more popular. And how did we meet? It was like
so I set up a WhatsApp group. We were talking about cryptocurrencies, and we started talking about this idea that Kyle had, and he introduced me to XBC. If you see him around ETC Labs, he's always got the blue EXBC Twitch hoodie on, so he was a real big fan, and he showed me this. And yeah, it's like you say, the homeless challenge, just asking random girls out in the streets, bets and predictions. So we thought, wow, this it was just like a combination. We were like, we're both gamers, and we realized that, okay, this actually, that interactivity really works. And we thought, what if we could turn an app? And there's all this buzz around cryptocurrencies. Maybe we can sort of involve that into it as well. And then the idea just kind of snowballed from there.
It's amazing that Pokemon Go is responsible for some of this. You guys to have some sort of commemorative Pokemon Go moment, Slips challenge. As far as, we mentioned Augur before, prediction markets and Slips. Why do you think blockchain is creating these opportunities? What is it about the technology that enables the Slips?
Okay, well, for us, it was the secret source of Slips is actually, we looked at some of the concepts that are actually in blockchain. So, for example, consensus mechanisms, as much as there's also the technology, but it's also the game theory. That's what makes blockchain so amazing. So with Slips, we actually you can bet on anything. So that's the problem, like, because you make a bet with somebody, but you also need to know what actually happens so that we can resolve the bet. And blockchain has the concept of this oracles, that feed in information. There's all kinds of ways of trying to solve this problem. For us, we took some of those concepts. So, for example, we have paid arbitrators. So if we were going to make a bet on Slips, so for example, you and I made a bet, I know you pretty well, we'll probably be honest with each other, but if I'm doing it with a complete stranger, there's a chance that, he might be a sore loser and he won't report what actually happened. And in that case, what we have is we have paid arbitrators. And the way that they actually get these jobs is that they stake money into our system. And it's not just that they stake money into the system, but the jobs are actually proportional to what everyone else has staked into the system as well. And to keep the sort of game theory going, they also get rated on the decisions. So it's not that you put a huge amount of money into Slips and then you get all the jobs and then you try, help your friends or help yourself. It's not like that. You also, you have to build up a reputation and then you have to maintain that reputation. So if you maintain that reputation and you're judging fairly, then you'll keep getting jobs. If you try and do something shady, then you've got all of this money locked in the system, which you can't pull out again. But at the same, again, because we have a smart contract in which they put the money. But at the same time, you're not going to get any jobs simply because our algorithm has decided that you don't have enough ratings. So we're still kind of tweaking this, and this is all going to be launched on the ETC blockchain. But at the moment, that kind of thing that's what makes Slips actually work. So for us, blockchain was a game changer. There's things that we could take from it, and that actually made our idea happen the way that we wanted it in terms of the user experience.
Yeah, it's the trust minimization that it really powers this, and it's cool also figuring out that there's three different user types you have, which is it sounds like uh, people who are watching and that can make bets, the streamers who they can make bets on themselves and their own performance, and then third is the moderator, the arbitrator. Is it arbitrator? I'm sorry.
Yeah. We call them arbitrators because so if you're on Twitch, you also have the concept of moderator. So we didn't want to confuse the two together. So we thought let's have another term that's similar, that's kind of a little bit different. So we call them arbitrators.
And can anybody apply to be an arbitrator? Is there something you need to do?
Well, I think it would help if you had a little bit of interest in gaming and a little bit of experience in gaming as well, because if you're arbitrating what happens in games, you sort of need to know some of the rules. And that's really the only sort of qualification, because as long as you can stake money into the smart contract, as long as you can get yourself a little bit of Ethereum Classic, which is available on Coinbase, so it's not that difficult to get hold of, and you have an internet connection, then you can become an arbitrator. For us, you mentioned those two classes of users. One thing I like to say is those users, so a lot of streamers are young, they're familiar with new technology, they pick up new things. So, at the same time that they're working with Streamlabs, OBS, they've got dozens of software, video recording, they're doing lots of different and very clever things. So blockchain isn't something, it is, again, more complicated stuff, but they can pick that up quite easily, just like everything else. And we feel like that's a little bit of difference, because if you're looking for audience and you're introducing new people to blockchain, then this is another market that's quite huge. And again, if you provide them something of value to them, then they're more likely to pick up blockchain. And it's natural. We try to, there's not so much of the tech stuff. We just kind of want to introduce them to it slowly. And then they get used to the idea of wallets and addresses and QR codes and everything else as well.
Yeah, it's definitely kind of a gateway to blockchain. That's what I love about what you guys are building. You're not trying to take something that already exists and shove it into the blockchain. You're building something that needed blockchain as a solution. And you mentioned you're moving on to you build on ETC. What kind of influenced that decision? There's a lot of blockchain platforms to build on. Why ETC?
Yeah, definitely. Well, so one of the things that we had is obviously Ethereum. When you're looking for something, you're looking for obviously the biggest platform. So we're not going to say that we're the biggest, the best developers on the planet. That's not the problem that we're trying to solve. There's lots of clever people out there doing that. We're just focusing on user experience. So what we needed was a platform that was relatively solid. If we needed help, that there were smart minds that we could approach. The problem with Ethereum, and I think I've mentioned this a few times, is that at the moment, the network, the fees that you have in terms of the cost and whatever, it's not predictive. You can't build a business on something that's likely to change. Sometimes the network gets clogged and you have transactions. When you deposit, so if you've ever deposited money into slips, you're waiting for that transaction to confirm so that you can see the amount, especially on an onboarding process. If that takes, you can't predict how long that takes. That's really scary for users, and we're trying to build something that's very user friendly. So we started looking around at alternatives. This is around the CryptoKitty thing, where there's lots of scary stories. We started looking around for alternatives.
What's a scary CryptoKitty story?
Well, that was the thing. That was when so it was a good thing in a sense, because something suddenly gone mainstream. People are using a DApp, and they're not even they're not focusing on all the tech concepts. They're just talking about the fact that this is something fun and this is something that you can do on blockchain technology right now. And then all of a sudden it was like, okay, but that's also killed the network. That was the scary part. So when we started looking around for alternatives, Ethereum Classic, we didn't have to redesign all of our code. What we already had just worked. We just needed to. So there was, we looked at things like, for example, so we do a lot of development on the testnet. We don't want to spend a lot of real Ethereum Classic whilst we're still developing, and you have bugs, you lose all of that money. So they had a really good testnet that we can switch over to. There's block explorers. Ethereum Classic has its own development tools as well, which is pretty cool as well. We worked with a few other networks and we tried a few different things, and we just we had code already. We didn't want to rewrite it. If you're a startup, you don't want to rewrite lots of different code. So we're part of the Ethereum Classic Labs incubator, and as part of that, we had access to the dev teams. So there's some things that come to mind. So again, like if we're going to do this, what's the best way to do it? And we've got a Discord where we can just shoot that out to the devs. Again, that's kind of that's really helpful. And from our point of view, with open source blockchain software, there's no guarantee of kind of like, okay, you're going to get this level of support, but we do know that we've got a little bit of, if we need to contact the devs, we do know who they are, we know where they are, we know how to send questions to them, and most likely they'll answer our question. That, if you're building a business on that, you need that kind of reliability. Just that.
Yeah, I've heard the same thing from the other projects we've spoken to, is the fact that you have access to the development community, that you can quickly ask a question, get an answer to a problem that you're dealing with. As dApp developers, I don't know, people watching, you don't realize Slips is built by these two. Everything you see in the Slips universe has come from their hands. And it's mind-blowing what you guys have been able to accomplish, just the two of you. Outside of the building part, what do you think is a challenge as a dApp developer?
I think not just dApp developers, but you can talk about anything. That you can build something that's really amazing, but you need people to know about it. So kind of marketing it is a big thing. You need to know.
But like on the friction side, you mentioned before that you're going to need to have a wallet. Do you think that might be an issue as far as customer acquisition?
Yeah. So the user experience was always something. So the more hurdles that we have, some platforms. So we have some competitors who they're doing something similar. I wouldn't say that they're doing something exactly the same as us, but they also, it's a big niche. Esports people jumping into it, but they have their own token, and the idea is that their token is going to be listed on an exchange which isn't an exchange that you go into the app store and it's got 5 ratings on it. It's probably some weird exchange in some weird country that you're not too comfortable dealing with. So first of all, you'd have to buy a base cryptocurrency. So you need to tell your users they need to get Bitcoin and where they get Bitcoin from, and then they need to go and buy this token, and then they need to deposit into the system. What we do is we simplify a lot of that stuff. So instead of having a wallet that the users control, so we had to make a decision. Okay, do we decentralize everything? So do the users have their own wallets which they're in control of? And then so for each transaction, does it go through the blockchain? And then there's a limit where you talk about user experience and what the users want. Right. For us, it was always that blockchain isn't the be all and end all. So we're not just, like you say, we're not cramming blockchain into our product. This isn't a blockchain product. What it is it's a product for users that people want, and we're using blockchain to improve the user experience. So what we do is we actually, when you come onto Slips, we actually create an Ethereum Classic wallet for you that you can deposit funds into, and then that gets swooped into our account, and then you can make as many bets as you like, and then you can withdraw at the same time as well. And we have our own local node that we feed transactions to, and so on. So everything that we've designed it as a balance between decentralization and user experience, and we're kind of leaning very heavily on the user experience side of things. I think, and obviously we're in a very we're in the field of betting, which obviously there's lots of connotations that come with it, especially when it comes to federal laws, state laws, and jurisdictions around the world. So sometimes we have to make small tweaks to our application so that we're still compliant with all the laws. So, for example, users handling their own wallets, like you said, that would be an issue for us because how does the user sign for the wallet? How does that happen? And again, that's one thing. Again, we're glad that we're part of the ETC incubator because we can go and talk to the developers and say, okay, how have you guys, what's the best way that we can solve this problem? When we come to that kind of problem, we know that we can get that little bit of advice. And also we've got not here, but right now, but we've got other teams also who are doing similar projects in ETC. So we can ask them the same question. Hey, how did you guys solve that problem? So it's nice to have them knowing that we've got that support as well.
I'm happy that the experience has been working out, and that's the same feedback. So what's nice to learn is that there are ways that you can choose to make the user experience better, but you are sacrificing some of that decentralization. So do I need a MetaMask setup to use slips?
No. So we thought that was we were talking to a company yesterday. So what we want to do is make the process as frictionless as possible. So there was a company that we were speaking to. They actually work with Brave. So I don't know if you use the Brave browser, but you can actually, from your bank, you can actually put, top up your Brave wallet without going through that whole process. A lot of banks, with cryptocurrencies, they're not very comfortable working with them, but this bank is actually, they're pretty pro for it. And for us, those kind of improvements are, they make a huge difference. Well, if we're asking users to download a browser extension, and then they've got to configure a wallet, and then each transaction comes up with that sign, that makes it a little bit more complicated. So we don't need that. We've actually got a local node that we feed transactions to. We hold users' private keys, and we actually we send the transactions when they actually make a bet. So from that point of view, we don't actually, we're not going to complicate the user experience by doing that. But as I said, as we clear more legal hurdles, there might be times where, for example, so the reason I said that we hold the private keys is when you actually send a transaction to Slips, it's almost like an exchange. Like when you send money to an exchange, you have the QR code, you send the funds to it, and then automatically it flashes up. And on Slips, it's exactly the same thing. You just get your Coinbase application, you scan our QR code, you send some money over, and then within like 20, 30 seconds, as soon as the ETC network clears the transaction, you see it pop up. And that's the kind of user experience that we want. You're using blockchain technology, but it's not, it's not hitting you in the face and saying you've got to do this, this, and that.
I'm convinced. I'm going to start betting. What, as a new user, what do you recommend I start with? Like how do I set myself up? What kind of streams should I be looking for? What's a common bet?
Okay, so obviously if you go onto slips.io and you try and register, you need an invite code.
Okay,
everybody needs to see
put
invite
that
code.
in the description.
Okay, so you obviously go onto Slips, you register. It's like one quick form, and then you're in. We have a list of channels, so you can actually on the Slips website, if you have a particular game that you're interested in. So, for example, if you're into all the battle royale type games, then you can go look for Fortnite, look for PUBG, whatever game that you like. If somebody is streaming it on Slips, you can see it.
In those battle royale games, what's a common challenge that you see?
Well, Fortnite was a good example because a lot of people play Fortnite. So when you play Fortnite, you're dropped into the kill zone, and obviously the vortex gets smaller. And the idea is that you're trying to get as many kills as possible, but you have like it's like a final who was the last winner, and then it's kind of ranked. Like
where they start building the towers up and up and up and up and up and start sniping each other.
Exactly, and the idea is your whole aim is to be the last person standing, and so you might finish 7th, or you might finish 21st, or you might, if you're me, you probably finish right at the end. And the idea is those are the things that you can bet on. So, for example, this guy will finish in the top 5, he'll finish in the top 10, he won't even finish in the top 10. How many kills will he get? How many minutes will he last? There's it just depends on your creativity. There's no kind of restrictions on what bets that you can make. It's just what do you feel like betting on? What kind of thing? And actually, most of the bets, they come as a natural result of the play. So there's a clip that maybe you can insert in a second or so, but we had one player, so he's just recently discovered the Slips platform, and he just kept losing the same level over and over again. I had a bet on him that he'd finish it in 9 tries, and I think he managed to lose 1, so he actually did it in 10 when we just nudged the goalpost a bit. But then after, somebody just made a spontaneous bet. They just said, you're going to do the next one in the first go, and he was just so happy with that reaction. So normally the bets, as you're watching the streams, they just develop. You're watching the streams and you think, you know what, that outcome, I want to bet on it. So that just kind of naturally develops. But like you said, to answer to your question, for battle royale games, it's normally things like kills, where they'll finish, how many people they would kill, how long they'll last, and that kind of thing.
Okay, and I'm sorry, I cut you off when you were listing so there's different types of games. I'm going to see the game, and then within Slips, can I actually watch the stream?
Yeah, we actually take the stream directly from Twitch or Mixer. So any streamer who's actually, so it's not just the people who are streaming on Slips. If you look at a stream and you think, this guy is amazing and I wish more people would look at him and bet on him, then you just literally grab his Twitch channel URL, and put it into Slips. You can create a channel very quickly, and then there you go. The channel will show up on this thing. Other people will see it, and they can jump in as well. And because we have the URLs, so it would be slips.io/whatever URL you give, you can go and give that to other people. So say, for example, you're setting up a little tournament with your friends, then you can create this channel, give it to them, and all of you can jump onto the channel and make bets with each other as well.
Okay. Now, this is a question for both of you. What's next that you guys are building that people should be excited about, that you're excited about? What's happening over the next, let's say, year? Because I know you guys are going to be doing some big things coming up. What's next that you're excited about?
Kyle can tell you what's going to happen in the next few weeks, because we've got a lot of things that are actually going out in terms of voice chat, leaderboard, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so one thing we have coming into the Slips platform is voice chat. We found that having a group of people talking to each other, talking smack about what's going to happen is really conducive to making challenges and bets, and also makes the process easier of finding a result for a bet. So we're going to be rolling out voice chat into the chatting platform. And then we're also looking at implementing a calendar?
Yeah, there's a calendar. I think more important is the leaderboard that's coming out that's going to be like in the next few days. So we have like list of slips bets. So for example, who's won the most, who's got the biggest slips balances, who's lost the most. I think that will be fun. Who's got the most channel subscribers. So we were looking at it because the thing is, at the moment, you can't actually make real money bets. So we're sort of tweaking some of the legal stuff. So we haven't actually enabled real money bets so far. But people are still, they're really enjoying the experience. So we thought with a leaderboard and you can see everything happening, that's going to be really cool. And Kyle just mentioned the calendar. That's also coming out in the next few weeks. And the idea for that is we're going to have tournaments. So there's going to be, we're going to have a tournament here in Ellis Street, here in San Francisco as well. But we also have online tournaments. So there'll be kind of weekly tournaments where people can come in and they know that there's going to be a stream live. But we're also going to give streamers an ability to, so the money that they use to make bets, they can also use that to go live on our calendar. So something will pop up so users can see where streams are, and it will go up on our Twitter and Discord immediately as well. So there'll be kind of a reason for them to make bets on slips and for people to make bets on slips as well. We're looking at donations as well, so people can donate to ECC. So if you're watching a stream, just like on Twitch where you have bits, you can also make ETC donations to your favorite streamer as well. That's sort of in the short-term future. You said, what are we going to do in a year's time? I'm hoping in a year's time that when people think about streaming and they think about Twitch and so on, they're also thinking about slips in the same light. But in terms of what we have in terms of our roadmap, we hope, first of all, real money betting, because I think when there's a little bit of money, something real on it, that always makes a huge difference.
Store.
Yeah, we've got the store. I think you've seen a few screenshots of it, but what we're going to do is you can, so we have a store with items. So there's digital crates that you can open, which have all sorts of amazing things. We have actual games, consoles, hardware, all that kind of stuff. So you can use your winnings to actually buy stuff in the store. We've got a way for brands to actually, so the thing is, when you think about advertising, you think of banner ads, and just in the last few years, banner ad conversions has just dropped. So first of all, desktop, like web banner ad, the market died, and now even mobile is sort of crashing. We've actually got this really, Kyle just went to sleep I went to sleep one night, he was designing something, I woke up the next morning and he'd come up with all these ideas. And he's got this idea of brands being able to sponsor streamers. So streamers, they can watch videos, they can do surveys, or they can do things on social media. And as they're doing those things, they actually earn slips as well. And obviously they've got reason to spend slips on the platform as well. So it's kind of full loop. And we've also got an innovative, you've got a youth audience and an innovative way for the brands to kind of market to this audience. So yeah, there's lots of really exciting things.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like you're building the perfect world for streamers. I love all the bells and whistles, all the things that you're enabling. To our viewers, you've got to sign up. I'm definitely going to be streaming soon. I'm pretty good at Tetris. I have to be honest. So I'm going to put my my challenge up there. Gentlemen, thank you so much for this, and thank you for building what sounds like it's going to be one of the most important dApps in the gaming blockchain sphere for sure. Not only that, in the streaming sphere as well. Any link that we've mentioned, we're going to put in the description. And we'll see everybody next week. Thank you guys for joining.
Definitely. Thanks.
Thanks,
Take care.
guys.
Bye.
Thanks.